This podcast contains discussion around depression and suicide. If you're experiencing feelings of sadness, depression, or thoughts of self-harm, stop and seek help now. There is someone waiting to talk to you right now on Lifeline's crisis hotline, 13 11 14, or call 000.
This podcast may also contain unintentional coarse language and political incorrectness.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of You Wouldn't Be Dead for Quids podcast with Graham Cotter, the Augathella fella. How you doing, Graham?
Wouldn't be dead for Quids, Ruth.
I'm Ruth Guice, and today with Graham, we're going to have a little bit of a reality check. And I guess it's start by saying, are you happy? Are you living a fulfilling life? Because what is the purpose of life, I guess, Graham?
I guess we're all on this earth to enjoy the journey. Sadly, we lose sight of that very early, mindset or whatever to shift and life can become tough,
Because we get caught up, don't we? It's easy to get caught up in work, for instance. Like I know my work was 14 hours a day, so the balance in my life was just not there. And so it's when you're putting too much on one particular area of your life, then other areas of your life are missing out. And it's about having that balance, isn't it? Because there's different areas of life.
Exactly right, Ruth. And this discussion's been going on since since probably man got up and walked. So it's a struggle that's been with mankind for centuries. So the fact that we're still having it is there's no easy answer to this.
But it is a good idea to check in with yourself. It's very easy to go through life unconsciously. As you would say, it's much better to go through it mindfully. Yeah. So you're actually giving time and energy to different areas of your life. So we just chose 6 areas that you could possibly look at. There are lots of different ways to look at it, but we're looking at health, relationships, career, your spiritual connection, and your finance, the contribution that you're actually making into the world. Now, of course, we're not going to cover all of that in this session, but today we're just going to look at the first 3, so health, relationships, and career. It's as though any one of those that you ignore is going to come back and bite you.
I guess, it's all about balance, Ruth, and so many different aspects of life generally, and it's the expectations that we place on ourselves as individuals that make it harder or easier than what it should be. The thing about mindfulness is something that's certainly become a big part of my life, and it's all about living in the present, and so if you're in that past, then you're not moving forward, and then if you're in the future, well, you're ahead of yourself. So being in the present so important. Part of the meditation that I do that each morning is to remind myself of the abundance that surrounds me, and there is. We keep seeing what's missing in our lives, but we don't spend enough time on what's actually there and it's important and meaningful, and it's easy to get lost in what you haven't got as opposed to focusing on what you do have.
So for instance, and they're all interrelated, so if we're talking health, relationships and career today, if you don't have your health, then your relationships and your career are impacted. If your relationship's not going that well, then that can affect your health as well. And career, if you're focusing too much on career, then definitely your relationships and your health can take a hit. So being able to look at all of those things together to balance, to say, am I focusing equally? Am I being mindful of everything around me rather than being out of balance?
Yeah. One of the big parts of that exercise is being part of nature as well, and just stay grounded in that aspect of us, of our lives, and it's so important. It's where all the anxiety and those sorts of things, and those things that you mentioned, it doesn't take very much to become extremely anxious, and if you feel that you're failing in 1, 2 or 3 of those, then that's when the anxiety levels go through the roof. And
particularly health, if you looked at that as maybe the basis. So, because if you're not getting enough sleep, if you don't have the right diet, if you're not drinking enough fluids, if you're not getting any exercise, then eventually, like, your body will keep going because it's an amazing machine, but eventually it will break down, and then that is when it will affect your career, your relationships, etc. It's sort of like if you get the health right first, then you can move on to the next areas.
The whole aspect of why I'm in this space is that our mental and emotional wellness is key to all those other aspects of our lives, because if you're in a good space with your mental and emotional wellness, then once would have been mountains become speed bumps, and when you're in that good space mentally and emotionally, they're not mountains, they're only molehills. So you need to make a conscious effort, and by conscious effort sometimes is to do nothing. And when I say do nothing, not physically do nothing, but give yourself 20 minutes each morning to set yourself and get that present state of mind, and stay in that present state of mind for the whole day. And when you're able to do that, it has an incredible impact on how you react, because there's no escaping the fact that shit happens, and shit's going to continue to happen. So, but it's how you respond to it, and when you're in that mindful state, you just take it in your stride.
One of the ways you can do that, because Graham actually has a Meet the Day meditation that is on Graham's YouTube channel, which is Graham Cotter, the Augathala fella. So if you were looking to start with some mindfulness, then check that out on YouTube is a really, really good way to start. So looking at health, sleep, diet, hydration, exercise, if any of those things aren't quite right, it is going to affect different areas of your life. What's the next area? Relationships, Graham. How can you check in with that?
Relationships covers many aspects of it, as your personal relationships with the partner or your family and the people that you love and care about, and also the relationship that you have on a day-to-day basis with your workmates and that sort of stuff. And if you're in business, relationships are critically important to how good your business is going to be, and any sort of business, no matter what it is around the relationships that you build.
That's about, I guess you could say, checking in with clients in terms of how do you make sure that relationship is a healthy relationship.
I guess I've always been of the opinion that you treat someone how you want to be treated yourself, and what I do say to a business owner was I used to say to them, you spend a big chunk of your life at work, so make sure you enjoy what you do. If you don't, piss off and go and find some job that suits you. It's the same with a relationship, like personal relationship.
How do you measure whether you've got a good relationship? How do you make that happen? Is that like that you're spending quality time together?
In a good relationship, it'll unfold as it should. And when you and the person you're with, are at a good place emotionally and mentally, and in a good place, well, it'll unfold itself.
I guess from a mindfulness perspective, isn't it about being mindful of the person? So mindful of how much time you're spending with them, mindful of how you're communicating when you're together, and not taking them for granted.
Let me put it this way. As individuals, we have a number of roles, and it's critically important that dedicate the time needed in each of all those critical roles. And to go back to one of probably the most powerful book I ever read, and it changed my life, was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I remember doing that chart as to, what was most important to you as an individual, and then allocating the time to each of those, and prioritise time and the effort or whatever that you put into that particular relationship. And
if you are, whatever relationship you're in, I guess, with your children, it's about being able to decide to take time to check in with them. If you're in a relationship, that you're spending that quality time together, or when you can't, you have open lines of communication so that you can maintain that closeness.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, Ruth, and I guess it's two-way traffic. If you're giving and giving and giving and getting nothing in return, sometimes I always try and avoid negative people because they sort of erode my positivity. Fulfillment is being able to position yourself in the right space with the people that surround you and those sorts of things. And if it's and within yourself whether that's not right, or it may be that you need to shift direction, and being aware, and yet the fact that there is that lack of connection or whatever, but being aware of what drives you, what values, and when.
And so when it comes to career, what should you be looking for?
I always say is that you spend a big chunk of your life in the workplace, so make sure you enjoy what you're doing. And I say to people that I've never had a job in my life that I hated, and I've had some pretty crappy jobs, I can assure you, but it's how you approach them on a day-to-day basis. To say if you walk in there thinking this is crap, well, guess what? That's what it is, crap. So
self-fulfilling.
and that's where most of our issues come from. Expectations. You don't have to lower your expectations, but by the same token, at times you're in a position where you're not able to change the environment and what have you. But it's how you accept it while you're there in that space that can make it bearable or unbearable. Because as I keep saying, like a broken record, our minds respond to the words we say and the pictures we make. Change the words, change the pictures, change your life. And at the end of the day, wherever you are, change something. It's an inside job. You can't be relying on someone else to make you happy, your employer to make you happy and what have you. Because if you've chosen a career path and you're not happy, no matter where you are, as I say a number of times to people that have transitioned through a number of careers or relationships, is you've got to find the common denominator, fix it, because and the common denominator in all those instances is us as individuals. So you've got a problem, have a look at the common denominator.
Most definitely. So, okay, that is brings us to the end of our part 1 of our reality check, looking at health, relationships and career, and of course, mindfulness. Coming up in our next episode, we are going to be talking again, doing a part 2 of the reality check. But what areas are we going to be looking at, Graham?
Yeah, next session, Ruth, we'll be looking at finance, spiritual connection and contribution.
Beautiful. Okay, and if you would like to chat to Graham in the meantime, remember you can get a hold of him at kissbusiness.com.au. And if it's rapid transformational therapy you're after, then just click on that tab. What is rapid transformational therapy? But you can also follow Graham Cotter, the Augathala fella, on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And we will see you again very soon.
Thank you, Ruth.